Now, this is not just me guessing of what electric cars are like, because I don't own an electric car. I haven't got a charging point installed into my house, but I did, however, do what millions of people do every day. I hired one. And I hired an electric car from one of the top hire companies in the whole of the world. They're at every airport. And to hire an electric car, fully electric mind you, is the same cost as hiring a petrol or a diesel motor. So when you go on holiday to another country, or even if you come to visit the UK, then this is the sort of car that you're going to get when you hire an electric car. I wanted to find out if electric cars, are they going to be the future? Well, are they going to be the future in my eyes? And is it worth doing the EV charger installer course as an electrician? So this podcast is going to go all into detail about the electric car saga. Toolbox talks for electricians, helping electricians reduce stress, gain back time, and earn more money. And can you do it installing electric car chargers? Welcome back once again. My name is Ben Poulter, your host of Toolbox Talks for Electricians. And this podcast came from an idea from a visit that I had to Germany just the other week. I went there for a wedding. It was a bit of a flying visit. I was cutting it a little bit fine. I flew out there sort of Saturday morning and then had to get back for sort of Sunday lunchtime. So I sort of tried to plan it. Failed to plan to fail. So I planned my trip. I planned the hotel, the hire car, and the flights. It all should have ran seamlessly, or so I thought. And then it all started off fine. Fantastic. Got there in plenty of time. Got on my flight. Ryanair got me to Germany exactly as they said they would, on time, using a diesel or aeroplane fueled plane, of course. It weren't electric, I know that. And then I got through customs to go and pick my car up. It was a Renault Twingo. And yes, doing a little bit of research, they're not actually available in the UK, which is not such a bad thing. But on the research, it found out that they're meant to do around 90 kilometres to 205 kilometres on a full battery. And that's depending on the weather, I suppose, of what you use, whether you're driving it at night and your lights are on. So yeah, it's a bit of a range from 90 kilometres to 205. And to be honest with you, 205 kilometres is not a lot. So on a full charge of an electric car, that car promises to do around 56 to 127 miles. Yeah, it's not much, eh? So I think really this car was designed for people that maybe live in a city where they drive 10 miles to work and drive 10 miles back and then stick it on charge overnight. A bit like a waterproof scooter, I suppose. It's not something that you're gonna use to go along the motorway. But, however, they get hired out through hire companies all over the world. But if you're using it for city driving and you're in a city doing 10 miles each way, I suppose that, yeah, it might work out and be efficient on the cost. But we're going to get to that. So this is me getting into the car, assuming it's on half a charge, basically half a tank. And half a tank in any other car I've got into in my life, yeah, I know it's probably... because it's electric, it's different. But any other car I get into, just in my head, maybe being old, I assume half a tank, that's at least 100 miles. And turning that into kilometres is easily going to get me 71 kilometres to where I need to get to. How flipping wrong was I? And I didn't drive the car like an idiot. I was in a foreign country and I was on the other side of the road, sort of driving on the left-hand side of the road. So... the left-hand side of the car, right-hand side of the road. So I was a bit cautious. So I wasn't driving erratically. I wasn't speeding. Didn't want to get pulled over by the police in a foreign country. So yes, I was driving very sensibly and to the speed limit. And to be honest, I was staying on that inside lane most of the time because I know in Europe, if you're going slow or even if you're overtaking in the outside lane, the Europeans, they like to give you a flash. Get out the way, get out the way. They don't care. If they're faster than you, get out the way. And this was a little electric car. So it didn't really go that fast. I did put my foot down where I could to try and overtake a bleeding lorry. And yeah, it'd only do sort of 90 miles per hour. And I suppose... yeah, that's fast enough in the UK. I thought you think it's about 140 kilometres an hour. It wouldn't really get there. So I had to sort of sit back in the slow lane So yeah, I didn't cause anyone any mischief or get people coming up behind me flashing all the time. And although the car, it did have heated seats, beautiful, nice little gimmick, and it had the heated front window and back window, which I didn't use because I didn't need to. All I had was a bit of the radio on, and I think I used a sat nav, but that was plugged in through my phone as well. But then 30 minutes into my journey, that battery went down to 20%. And 20% is pretty low to me. If my fuel gauge was on 20%, I'd think about filling back up. So I thought, right, I better make a plan. I better get into the garage to charge this car up. Because if it's going to go flat on the middle of a motorway of a foreign country, I don't know who to ring. It'll be the car hire people to come and pick me up. But that'll make me late for the wedding. So I wanted to be prepared. So, right, I've got a bit of time. Let's pull over into the nice big garages. If you've driven through Europe before, you know that they have everything. They've got not just a McDonald's, they've got restaurants, they've got they've got bars even in there. So, yeah, these garages, I thought, yeah, they're more likely going to have a charger for this car, no worries. But then being completely new to electric cars, I didn't know that you can't just put your credit card details in or your debit card sort of thing, tap and go on these chargers to put a bit of charge in your car. So I had to get this card, which was Shell Refuel, register that, and then put my card details in so I can use this Shell Refuel card anywhere. So that was a bit of a palaver, sitting there with like really weak signal in the middle of a car park, in the middle of like not in the motorway, but in the car park, because there are massive car parks over there. So I was sitting there with a weak signal, trying to fill this thing in with a little bit of signal and hoping the battery wouldn't go flat so I could charge my phone as well, because that was going flat. It was a bit of a palaver. But eventually it was a success. I got it all plugged in and they sent me an email, said you're ready to go. So I walked up to the machine, tapped my little card on there, said, right, they said plug it in. The plug was different. There was 2 plugs on this charger and none of them fit the car that I had. I didn't know this. I've never had an electric car, so I didn't know that there could be so many different plugs. Maybe this car was built for the city, so in the city there's more plugs like this car, but it was different to what was on the charger. So I was screwed. I couldn't charge it up there. And it's not like there was a 240 plug where I could plug into either. Because if I needed a bit of charge, I would like to give it a little bit just to get me a bit further. But no, you couldn't do it. In the back of the car, there was a lead so you could plug it into any charger. And there was a 240 like adapter as well. So I could have plugged it into, I don't know, a restaurant somewhere if needed. But I wanted to plug it into a car charger really so I can get a fast charge and get on my way. As far as my research got me, there's around 6 different plugs for electric cars. Well, yeah, there's 2 for petrol and diesel cars. Petrol and diesel, that's what it is. And I don't know, I like that. I like that there's not much of an option. And I like that you can get them anywhere. You pull up into a service station, they've both got petrol and diesel. Yeah, sometimes they run out, but the tanks are there. They've got petrol and diesel in every garage. Every garage you pull into, you can fill your car up if it's a combustion engine. But with electric cars, you need to go onto the app to find the specific, not even garages, areas to be able to charge your car. So I had to go on this app, find out the local one. It was about 10 kilometres away. Luckily, I had enough. I was skinning my teeth sort of thing, trying to find this place. But I ended up on this middle of industrial estate. I swear it was someone's house. But it did use my Shell recharge card, and I plugged it in for around 30 minutes. And the thing is, what I found out, when I plugged it in, I thought, right, great, it's raining. I'll sit in the car and let it charge up. Wise, I don't know, playing on my phone. But no, you couldn't. I unlocked the car and the charging stopped. So you couldn't necessarily sit in the car whilst it was charging. So I had to get my coat on and take a little walk for about 30 minutes whilst it's charged. The only reason that I knew it went off when I got in is because of the bleeding humming noise. The charger, it wasn't too big. It was probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 foot off the floor. But when you plugged it in and it engaged, you hear that contactor click in, it charged. It was louder than a boiling kettle. I thought, is something wrong here? Is it going to blow up? So I preferred to let it go on charge, and I took a walk off, and I half expected to come back and that thing to be on fire. But like I say, it wasn't my car. I hoped it wasn't on fire. But this must be natural. Let me know in the comments if it's natural for a car charger to hum that much. Because in my eyes, when something's drawing that much current and it's humming that much, it makes me feel a little bit anxious, maybe. It seems dangerous as an electrician. You think that's humming, there's a lot of voltage going through there. There's this rubber flex cable. It's not tri-rated or anything. Someone could, I don't know, step on it easily, and there's a lot of current going through there. It's going to blow your socks off if anything was to happen to this little rubber cable. And then 30 minutes later, after walking around an industrial estate, can't even find a coffee. So I got back to the car, and it had enough to get me to the hotel, which was another 30 kilometres away. So I got in the hotel. Luckily as well, which I found quite convenient, the hotel, it did have a charging point that fit the electric car, which was fantastic. But they were quite surprised. I said, have you got an electric car charging point? I said, yeah, but we've got to move some cars first. Because they probably don't use it too often. But they had it there. That was the main thing. So they moved the cars, I parked the car up, left it overnight, plugged in, thought, fantastic, that is going to be spot on in the morning, fully charged to get me back to the airport. So the wedding, it was a great night out. It's my uncle's wedding. It was fantastic. Plenty of family I haven't seen for a little while. And if you've seen the video on YouTube, you can tell because my voice was pretty croaky, plenty of flu, plenty of dancing, and plenty of drink. But getting back in that Twingo in the morning, fully charged, I felt confident that was going to get me back to the airport. It was 71 clicks away, so I thought, well, we've got plenty on there. I think it came on the dash that I had like 141 kilometres to go before it was flat. So, well, I know that I didn't trust it too much, but then I thought, okay, right, it'll get me there at least. That'll be fine. So off we popped. And it was a bit drizzly that morning, so I had to use the heated windscreens. So I turned them on, and I felt a bit delicate, so I thought, right, I'll pop the heated seat on as well, just for a bit more comfort whilst I'm driving. It was only an hour's drive to the airport, so I thought, right, I'll pop the heated seats on for a bit more comfy. But then I pulled up to the airport to park it back up in the higher place. It was on 20% again. So basically, it got me 71 kilometres on a full charge, which I wanted to find out how much that cost me to charge up overnight. And to charge that car up overnight, it cost me £24.71, which I swear I could have got a bus from the airport for that. Because I know for a fact, if I put £20 worth of diesel in my van, that'll give me at least 150 kilometres. So is this the reality of electric cars? Yes, they're fantastic for the environment, but I suppose that's if you only charge them with solar panels or wind turbine, which are also great for the environment. Yeah, I think most of them are probably fed from where we've generated electricity from fossil fuels. So that's irrelevant. It's completely, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But are they going to take off? Is everyone going to have an electric car soon? Because I think as humans, we like convenience. And all this faffing around, you've got to find an app, you've got to find a certain place to charge your car. And we go a few miles. In the UK, fine, we might drive for an hour or so. But in other countries, like Germany, like Australia, like America, they don't just drive for an hour. A 4-hour trip to someone in countries like that, it's nothing. It's normal. In the electric car, have they got a charger in the middle of the desert where they drive these things? You think of going down Route 66, an electric car. You're going to have to leave it there. You might as well walk. And there was something that I noticed about this little Twingo as well. That you have to change the style that you drive. Because when you're coasting, the battery charges back up. Which I thought, right, if it's on 20%, I'll try and coast a little bit, I'll speed up and coast, and then it'll get me further and it'll charge the battery back up. So in effect, you have to learn a different style of driving. But coasting, it's not a good thing to do because then obviously you're not in control if you're just coasting along. I like to keep my foot on the accelerator at a steady speed. It's just, it felt a little weird. But I do suppose if you drive up a big hill and you coast all the way down for, I don't know, an hour or so, maybe you go to Italy, to the Alps, where you're driving down this hill for an hour and it's basically charging the car up all the way, you'll get a good charge. But that's if your car can make it to the top of the hill in the first place. If you're driving up a hill, it's going to be labouring a lot more, using a lot more battery. So, yeah, you probably won't even get up the hill, so who cares about coasting down? I just don't see how electric cars can be better than diesel or petrol at the moment. They do say that the Teslas, they've got very responsive. You put your foot down, that thing goes. It goes as fast as you want. The response is there. You don't have to let the engine get up to the revs or anything. But then in my eyes, what if it can go really fast for, say, 30 seconds when a diesel or petrol engine can go slower, but maybe for a minute. It's like the tortoise and the hare. I'd rather get there, let's be honest. I don't care how fast I go because more likely there's speed limits anyway, so you can't go fantastically fast and you're in more control at a steady speed. That's my geekness in me when I'm driving. But yeah, you're in control at a steady speed, so you don't have to get there super duper fast. I'd rather prioritise getting there and not just getting there, but not having to stop off at a garage for maybe an hour or so while the bleeding car charges up. And speaking to a few people at the wedding, and I was telling them about this car and the electric cars, and they were just laughing, saying, yep, Germany are not on board with the electric cars at the moment. There's not the infrastructure, which is the same as the UK, for electric cars, and there's not enough charging points. Like, people have electric cars, they struggle to get them charged. And I suppose if you meet your house and you're a city like person that works in the city and you just want to go to and from work for 10 mile, 20 mile each way, yes, they'll be convenient. But for anything else, no, not worth it. And I'm all for the idea of a 0% carbon footprint, but I just don't think that technology is there yet. People aren't going to adapt it unless it's convenient. And petrol and diesel cars, they're convenient. So this led me to thinking on as well about, would it be worth me doing the EV charging course to be able to offer that to my customers as another qualification under my belt? And I would have thought about it sooner if I had a few customers that maybe asked me, say, Ben, do you do EV chargers? I've never been asked once in my life about an EV charger. And I think there's plenty of people like car manufacturers and the bleeding Costco do car chargers also. It might be a bit of a race to the bottom in effect of installing them, because I think it should be a specialised trade sort of thing to install EV chargers. You should be qualified to be able to do it because there's so many out there that are being installed badly. And when you listen to them clunk in and the humming of the energy of the amps and the voltage going through, it can be quite dangerous. So you need to have someone that's knows how to test that then terminals are tight and it's not going to arc and it's not going to cause a fire. It's not going to cause a problem over time, because I hope not. But I reckon we're going to get a few of these catching fire that are installed by some dodgy idiot. But the area where I live, I think there's about 1 in 50 people that have an electric car. And I only know that because when I walk the dog, I see a few chargers on the wall. And I think around my area, there's 1 or 2. There's not many at all. And then for a quick search on Google, there's about 5 or 6 companies offering to do EV charger installations. So I don't think that there's an avenue in my area for me to offer customers as an EV charger too. EV installation charger, whatever it is. It is new, definitely, and up and coming, and it's a new innovation in effect of the combustion engine or the car or the way that people go to and from work. But for an electrician, me personally, I think I would earn a lot more money being a domestic sparky than an EV charger installer dude, because I'm constantly busy with how I've built my business over time. So I don't really need to look at other avenues to be able to earn money sort of thing by doing an EV charger course. It doesn't seem very beneficial to me. And all these steps are really, really simple. All the steps that I've taken, you can take too. And I talk about them on the podcast and within the Toolbox Talks for Electricians community. So check out the link in the show notes below and come and check it out. So until next time, I'll see you again.